Okay, I think we're good now. Sorry about that. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me this time to come and talk about motivation and leadership development. When we look at developing leaders, the question of motive is a very important one to ask. How do we motivate ourselves as leaders? How do we motivate our followers? And in church settings like us here today, how do we motivate a congregation? How do we motivate them to serve? How do we motivate them to be better? I'm sure a lot of you have had these questions in ministry. I know I have, and I've only been in ministry for full-time for like a couple of months. And one thing we have to remember about motivation is it's not just about motivating our followers, but it's just as important to make sure that we as leaders are constantly motivated as well, because that works top down. It's monkey see, monkey do when it comes to motivation. And so, since we're Christian and we're talking about ministries, training leaders and ministry organizations, the first part about motivation is godly motivation. So we are ultimately all motivated by God's love and by God's grace. When it comes to Christian leadership motivation, nothing is more fundamental than love. Nothing is more fundamental than love. Love is what got us started, and it's what keeps us going. It is the basis of our existence. Because of God's love, we live and breathe. And without God's love, we would be sinful, unredeemed people. I probably wouldn't even be here presenting to you about this. The love of God is our ultimate motivation, because without it, we wouldn't be here. It should always be the most motivating factor in your Christian leadership journey. So, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do 10 principles of basic Christian motivation. And so the first one, if you can see, is God focus. Being close to God helps us keep us motivated because we're close to Him. Right? We see so many stories in the Bible of people who are being drawn further and further away from God, and they feel less motivated and they feel sad. But the closer and closer and closer we get to God, the more motivated we are, the more energy we have. Number 2 is generosity. Giving to people increases blessings. And so when I give to somebody, I feel motivated because I've made that person feel better. But that person also feels motivated because now they're going to want to give because I gave to them. It's this two-way motivation. Third one is humility. And this one is huge. So choosing humility keeps us motivated because when others get the spotlight, it motivates us to get the spotlight as well. So if I'm here and I see Cody and we're working at the same church and he gets the spotlight because he did this fantastic sermon, that motivates me to be humble, but also to be like, no, I want to get there. I want to be like Cody. But humility also works on another level. When your follower gets the spotlight for something you train them to do, there's nothing better. Honestly, when I see some of the youth that I train up go and be recognized for their hard work by Pastor John, nothing motivates me more to go out and do it again and again, to keep bringing up these followers to make them better. The fourth one is listening. We have to be slow to speak and quick to listen. This gives you a whole better understanding of the situation at hand and motivate you as a leader to act. Because when we have the full situation, there's less ambiguity, there's less fear, you're now more motivated to go out and act. 5 is fellowship. Being around other leaders and Christians keeps us motivated because you can come together for a common good and speak life into another. That's why we have leadership seminars. That's why we have classes like this. 6 is responsibility. We as Christians have a call to use our gifts. And by doing that, that will motivate us to use them more. Because when we act in our spiritual gifts, we actually see the tangible results of them. So I love to encourage people. One of my spiritual gifts, one of my highest ones, is exhortation. So when I speak life into somebody and when I show them encouragement, that brings me joy because I see them get joy. And then that joy turns to motivation, and then I want to go out and keep doing it. 7 is peacefulness. This keeps us motivated because when we are leaders, we need to rest. And being peaceful recharges us. It brings us rest, which then makes us be more rested and more energized so that we can be quicker in being a better leader and motivating our followers. You know, we talk about Myers-Briggs. So there's the introvert versus extrovert kind of scale of how people recharge. Some people like to recharge by themselves. Some people like to recharge with others. Taking that test is a really good way as a leader and even for your followers to figure out what will help them rest, because when they're rested, they will be motivated. Positivity. Always looking at the negative will very easily demotivate you. Always looking at the positive and counting your blessings every day will motivate you because you look in a perspective of look what God is doing. 9 is gratitude. When we affirm that God is good, it motivates to show others that God is good. And it motivates our followers to know that God is good so they can do it. Finally, we have mindfulness. Jesus teaches us that the worries of yesterday and tomorrow are not important. The only thing that matters is today. Knowing that should motivate us leaders to only care about the present. We can't fix the past and we can't worry about the future. We can only worry about the followers that are in front of us today. And that really actually motivates me because I'm a big picture person. I love seeing the future and dreaming, but if I'm constantly thinking about that, I'm not going to be able to motivate the follower in front of me. So these 10 principles, they're just guidelines as to how we as Christian leaders, need to stay motivated. As much as leaders are called to motivate followers, again, we have to stay motivated as well, because if leaders are not, our followers are not. So make sure everybody's paying attention. I want everybody to answer one of these 2 questions. So which of the 10 principles do you struggle with most as a leader? Or which of the 10 principles are you best at as a leader? And I can go through them if you guys don't remember.
I probably struggle with positivity. I tend to be a pessimist and like to look at things to fix and tweak, which isn't a bad thing.
Can you show the list?
Yeah.
Yeah, show each sector, yeah.
Let's go first.
I think for me, peacefulness is a hard one. I struggle with anxiety, and so generally I'm like a little anxious ball. So it's definitely like hard to do that. But I think I'm good at humility. I feel like that's something that I've practiced over the years, and God has been gracious to me to walk with me through that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that God focus can be positive and negative because I can always get better than what I am now. But I always try to put God first and seek Him first for anything I do.
Absolutely.
But it's not always the case, so I'll just say, well, let's try again.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have. I probably struggle with mindfulness the most. Like I said, I'm a very dreamer. I do big picture stuff. I have this young lady that I'm training to do podcasts and stuff like that at the church, and sometimes I'll be dreaming about how to make them better for like the next set that we're doing, as opposed to actually motivating her to get better at the one she's doing right now, because I'm so focused on the future.
Yeah, I would say mindfulness for me in that it's, I've got so many things going at the same time in different sectors of life, and then just to really stop and keep just slowing down to be in the moment, not always in gear.
It's good. Thank you all for sharing. So, even with the knowledge about God being our motivator in these 10 Christian principles, managers and leaders still use the be better talk. The idea of be better is old and outdated, and we need to throw it away. It's not very Christian of us to just tell somebody, be better. So I coached football when I was in high school. I coached grade 9s and grade 8s and junior league football. And the only way that I was ever coached was through be better talk. It was do this, do that, be better, or get off the field. It wasn't this lovey-dovey coaching of like, here's how you do this and here's how you do that. And this is why you do it and this is how I motivate you. No, it was do this or get off. And so when I started coaching, that's the only way that I knew, so that's what I started doing. Just be better, try harder, do this, do that. It's just the ground and pound, yell at them. This idea. But that's not leadership development, that's not motivation. One thing that we need to know is that be better motivation does not work because the follower or player or whoever you are using be better talk with is only trying to get better because you are telling them to. And they're not doing it for themselves. Which leads us into our next point. Motivation is internal. Motivation comes from inside the person. The old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It has to be an internal thing. So Bryn Hughes, we've all read his stuff throughout this class, has this amazing quote that says, good leaders recognize that they're basically good situation managers, providing appropriate opportunities and knowing that different people are motivated by different opportunities. One scenario will not equally excite a range of people. So I have a video clip we're going to watch. If the sound is on. Yeah.
Aww.
Michael always does better when he sees what he's supposed to do. Michael, come on.
Hold your side here between your tits. You got it? Will you look at me, son? If you grab them outside here like this with that horse collar thing you just did, you're gonna get flagged and I'm gonna be pissed. You hear me? All right, go.
Baby, wash my stuff, all right? Okay.
There goes Mama.
Well, at least they let that come off the bus. They'll be terrified till they realize he's a marshmallow. Looks like Tarzan played like Jane.
You mean the hurt?
We're in the middle of practice, Leanne.
Thank me later.
Do you remember when we first met, we went to that horrible part of town to buy those dreadful clothes? And I was a little bit scared, you told me not to worry about it because you had my back. You remember that?
Yes.
And if anyone tried to get to me, you would have stomped them, right? And when you and SJ were in that car wreck, what did you do to the airbag?
Stop it.
You stopped it. You stopped it. This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them from those guys, okay? Listen. Tony here's your quarterback, all right? You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me. How you have my back, how you have his, okay? Go back. All right. But the lumpy here is your tailbone. When you look at him, you think of SJ. Now, you never let anyone or anything hurt him. You understand me? All right. Go back.
I love
All
it.
right.
What about Collins and Mr. Tony?
They can be on the team too. Are you gonna protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Good boy. And go have some fun.
Oh, this is so good.
Yelling at him doesn't work, Bert. Doesn't trust men. His experience doesn't tend to care about you till they disappear.
Wanna run a flag?
this. Warm.
So we can see that Michael was being motivated by that be better talk. You know, do this, do that, and just that's how you be better. Try harder. Well, that did not work. Michael was not getting better. This does not mean Michael, or this did not motivate Michael to be better. It was an internal thing of protection and family that motivated him to be better. And so this is what motivation is. It has to be internal. Michael responds to emotions. So that's how they use that. And that's how he did better. So another question. How much more effective would the church be if everyone was motivated by the right reason?
A lot more effective.
Yeah, it would be
What are the right reasons?
internal. So I am motivated. So Michael isn't motivated by angry yelling and competition. He is motivated by emotion and family. So the whole point of this question is, how much more effective would it be if our volunteers, our followers, were motivated for what they need to be motivated by? So everybody go to page 13 and you're leading from your strengths. So this should be a page on what motivates you, right? So some of my motivators are rewards to support my dreams. So if I'm a big picture person, I want to start a paintball ministry. Well, Logan, we'll give you the budget if you do this and this and this. Well, it's like, then I'm going to be motivated to go and do that because it supports my dream. The chance to have fun. Give me any chance to have fun and I'll probably be motivated about it. Freedom to talk. Don't shut me up. I'm not going to be motivated. You know? Freedom of rules. I'll follow rules, but I want to create my own. I want to, if you put me in a little tiny box and say you can only go this far and this wide, I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to be motivated. That's actually going to demotivate me. So I want everybody to go around here and just quickly say like one or two things that motivates you.
Well, I like to be recognized for continuous quality work.
Yeah. Okay, Cody? Yeah.
I'm looking right now. To be recognized for its continuance of quality work as well.
A wide scope of activities. I guess I like a lot of stuff going at the same time.
And mine would be freedom to talk and participate on the team.
See? And like, the reason that I did this very simple exercise is that we're all motivated by different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an internal thing. Motivation comes from inside. Nothing on the outside is going to motivate you as well as something on the inside will. So you might be asking yourself, how do we find out what motivates people? I'm sure that's a burning question for some of you. So personal inventories, this simple exercise of what we just did, that is a great way to find out what motivates people. There are tons of free ones online that you can give to your followers to do. You get the results and you know what motivates them so you can challenge them to be better. Myers-Briggs is a great one. Learning about where their energy lies and when they're around people and all the different areas will help you figure out how they can be motivated. Ask the simple question, what motivates you? What excites you? So this camp speaker that we had 2 years ago, he used to say, when he talked about his leadership development, he would say, I don't want to develop a leader who isn't excited. So, finally, spiritual gifts tests. These are a great way to find out what motivates people. Because you're going to see what their spiritual gifts are. You place them in those areas, they're going to be motivated to keep going. And so, motivation is a thought pattern. So, motivation starts out as just a thought. We have to think about something. And then you add a person's feelings. So, do they like this? Do they not like this? Then you add a value. So, this value could be, does it align with their values? What's the reward from it? There's so many different things for values. And all of three things together equals a motivated and energized follower. When people think about something that involves their feeling and aligns with their values, they are now motivated to act on that thought. That's why it's internal. It's a thought. So, one thing that I cannot stress enough, motivation is not obligation. Everybody say it with me. Motivation is not obligation. How many of us in ministry have done something we are not passionate or motivated to do, but we did because we felt obligated to?
Yeah.
Like, we've probably all done something. Because motivation is not obligation. If there's one thing I want you to take away from that, it's this. So motivation is not obligation. Most, if not all, Christians will have a nudge to serve. The problem is, how do we motivate them to keep serving and serve at their full capacity and with energy? Motivation is more than a commitment. It's not just, oh, I'm going to commit to come to junior youth, now I'm motivated. No, it's not that. It's an internal factor that we as leaders need to pull out of people. Motivation cannot be bought. People will try to use payment as a motivator. Will not work. You can pay somebody twice as much. That doesn't guarantee they're going to work twice as hard. They'll do it for an hour, and then they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to go back to my old self. Because money is not a sustainable motivator. You are motivated when you have the money. When you don't, you're demotivated. But motivation is excitement. People should get pleasure out of serving and be energized by what they are doing. For me personally, I love serving in the tech department. So I love doing sound in chapel. I absolutely love it. I love doing sound at the neighborhood. That motivates me to get better at it because I love seeing people worship. I love helping people enter the presence of worship with God. That motivates me to keep going, and I'm excited about it. That new soundboard in the chapel, I literally was like grinning when I saw it because I was so excited that I get to use this as a tool to help people. Part of this is also being excited when people use their gifts. So we have this lovely elderly lady at the church who just loves to serve, and she likes to operate our camera. Now, she has a lot to learn about it, but she's always asking questions, and that's what motivates her. She wants to learn more. And so for me, that motivates me to learn more about it so I can teach her to be better. You have to be excited. So David McClellan, he did a study. So 3 million people were surveyed. Over 100 different motivators came out of this study. But only 3 of them everybody shared. And these are called the 3 primary social motivators. They account for 95% of thinking activity. So when we go back to motivation as a thought pattern, that initial thought plus feelings plus values, that initial thought, one of these 3 primary social motivators is 95% of it. Yeah, remember, motivation is a thought pattern. In other words, 3 primary social motivators account for 95% of a person's thought pattern. So one thing that we have to remember is that we all measure in each of the 3 motives. It's not, I'm only in one or I'm only in other. 65% of people are strongest in one motive. One of the 3 primary social motivators. 33% are strongest in 2. 2% are strongest in 1. But all of that is great. It's still the position of the person, the job they're doing that matters most.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What are the 3 primary social?
So we're getting to that next, yeah.
Got ahead of myself.
No, you're good.
See, she's motivated to hear
See?
those things.
So the 3 primary social motivators are achievement, affiliation, and power. So what this means is when a person gets a thought, it'll either be 95% of the time, it'll either be achievement, affiliation, or power. Or a combination of 2 or 3 of them. So, like I said before, these 3 primary motivators are thought patterns. But each person's thought pattern will differ. So one person who has achievement as a thought pattern as a start of their motivational track internally will not be the same as another person who has achievement as their thought pattern. And the values and feelings will change by each person. Those are the variables. But as a general idea, we're going to go through the slides over affiliation, achievement, and power. These are just guidelines as to what we can use as motivators for people who are in the 3 areas. They're not verbatim, it's just a guideline. So people with achievement, they need clear goals. They need results within their own control, regular feedback, challenges, moderate risk situations, and just rewards. Now, somebody else with achievement may have other characteristics. These are just ones that David McClellan could give as a basis for it, because each person's value and feeling is going to be different. So, yeah. Affiliation, this is me. I fit into this one the strongest. They need the chance for friendships, the chance to listen and to be listened to and to be affirmed, teamwork, acceptance, and social events. They're very social people. We want to be, we're motivated through social things. Finally, we have power. This is the chance to motivate others, the chance to be in high and low risk situations. So what this means is they want something where everything is on the line and they have to make that choice and they have to motivate and have to be led. But they also really like those really quick and easy ones where they can show off a little bit. They want to be in the public eye. They want to have status. They need to know they've made an impact. They're egotistical like that. They need to know that they did it. Chance to teach and the chance to direct or coordinate. This is generally a bit more of the head pastory type of role. They like to be in charge. They like to coordinate. But all of this doesn't matter unless the job is right. So a person who's really strong in power, but is a fry cook at McDonald's, is not going to be motivated. They need to be in another position. Now it's our job as leaders to figure out what motivates our followers. And we do this by trying to get on the inside of their thought pattern. So we start off with, well, what are they thinking about? When you look at ministry, so we'll take Cody and Junior Youth, for example. Look at one of your key leaders, one of those 3 leaders you have that you make decisions with. What do they think about when it comes to the ministry? How do they feel about it? Are they excited? Are they not excited about something you tell them? And how do they value it? Do they value it highly? Do they value it lowly? All of that combined together will equal if they are motivated or not. And then that initial thought will either be power, achievement, or affiliation. So, in conclusion, we have to remember, no matter what, motivation starts with God up here, then it funnels its way down internally into someone, and no one person is motivated by the same thing. All of our initial motivation comes from God. That's normal. But the actual thought pattern and initial part of motivation is different for everyone. I like fun and easy rewards. Someone else might like tangible things or social gatherings. Somebody might like clear-cut evidence and what you guys did. Somebody might like the chance to do 20 different things. Somebody might like the freedom to talk. We're all different in that way. Motivation is important for all levels of ministry and leadership. It doesn't matter if you're the nursery worker or the head pastor. In leadership, you need to be motivated. You need to keep your followers motivated. Finally, keep yourself motivated. If you are not motivated as a leader, you can't get your followers to be motivated. If you're not excited, they're not excited. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Really appreciate it. And, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have a different background every time.
No, it's the same one.
Wants to say why.
Oh. Really?
Not from like the first day or whatever. I think
Planet's
it's a different one.
moving. The planet's moving.